Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, The Main Ingredient. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I know it's been a minute since I last did an upload, and that's because life be lifing, okay? Life be lifing, the world is lifing, and we all just trying everybody just trying to find their sense of stability with everything going on with themselves personally, as well as navigating what's going on in the world today. But I'm here and I'm back, and this is going to be my part two boundaries video. The last one talked about, you know, parents speaking to their daughters, mothers speaking to their daughters specifically about setting boundaries with the individuals, friendships, and things in their life because it's important. Having those boundaries in place, especially when you're a teenager, young adult, um, can save you from unnecessary trouble. Okay, um, and concerning boundaries, I realized that in previous relationships, um, I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't have them, didn't enforce them, and didn't really just wasn't aware of myself in that way to maneuver. So over time, over the last few years, I've had some encounters and I've gained some knowledge, and I just basically want to share that knowledge with you and hopefully encourage you along the way. So let's get into it. Um, we are going to discuss what I believe, my opinion of what setting boundaries looks like in your adult life, okay? Because there are many and plenty of us out here um, just in connections with people maybe we shouldn't be in connections with, or we need to reframe how we're in connection with these people by setting boundaries. So, um, to me, setting boundaries uh, looks like for everyday living. Um, like my understanding of boundaries in the past is like you growing up. Like growing up, we wasn't really taught boundaries outright. I believe it was more or less understood as either you were respected or disrespected, and in connection with people, depending on how that looked, you moved accordingly. So, having the label boundaries, nah, I wasn't taught nothing like that. Didn't know nothing about that. But if you disrespected me, I knew exactly what to do with that. Not 9 times out of 10, most of us snap back in a defensive way or something like that. And or we just removed ourselves if we felt like we were being continually disrespected while letting the other party know, like, hey, I don't like that, I don't move like that, why are you coming at me like that? So for general sake and understanding, let's go ahead and define boundary. So a boundary, according to my Merriam-Webster dictionary, is something that marks or fixes a limit or extent. So, in my mind, an everyday example of a boundary looks like this. You're driving your kid to school, and en route, the speed limit is 30 miles per hour, right? So, if you call speeding, which means you're going more than 30 miles an hour, the police can issue you a ticket. Why? Because you didn't respect the boundary in place, which is set for 30 miles per hour. Another very simple everyday example is you driving your kid to school. This is what I do on a regular, and you are in a school zone, And in this school zone that you've now entered, the specified speed limit is 20 miles an hour. Not only is it a limit of 20 miles per hour in this school zone, there's also a speed camera in the boundary. And now you done set it off. So what this means? This means that you can expect a ticket in the mail. Why? Because you've not respected the school zone boundary at 20 miles an hour. You went over the speed limit or whatever like that, and you finna get a ticket. You done crossed the boundary. So in my mind, this translates to a simple principle which is applicable to all relationships that we have with individuals in our lives. You know, whether it's close knit or not, boundaries and or limits have to be put in place and implemented when interacting with others. And the simple reason is being that it's to protect you, because if you don't, I mean, given a chance, individuals will run all over you, period, point blank. So, again, back to the point, what does boundaries look like for like everyday living? So, the example I have is I can recall a time where me and a loved one would chit chat on the phone to catch up, because our work schedules and things like that conflicted. We weren't able to visit each other as often as we wanted to. So, you know, a quick little check in here and there wasn't like, why you calling me? It was expected, you know what I'm saying? So these conversations would start out with a simple like, how you doing? How's everything been? You know, are you busy? Then we get to chit chatting about the kids or whatever. I have kids, so, you know, work and just what's going on with you. Regular stuff. But then, you know, this conversation, they shift the conversation, and it's like not so good news. It's not something you want to continue in. But here we are. They got some not so good news, which in life is definitely not abnormal because life is not always handing out, you know, lollipops and gumdrops. So saying, you know, in conversation while we catching up, something doesn't happen, cool, no problem. But when we're speaking on that problem and we're in conversation about this problem for like 20, 30 minutes, talking about the same thing, and, you know, they're expressing their frustration over and over, while in conversation you're trying to be encouraging, you're trying to be understanding, but you're also trying to shift the conversation to a more positive vibe, you know what I'm saying? They ain't leaning to that positive vibe, you know what I'm saying? You trying to, you know, not limit, but now you're trying to, you know, get off the phone. Let's say like, okay, you can see they're not catching a hint in the conversation. You're trying to shift the conversation back to just some regular old convo after you've acknowledged they feeling, you acknowledge their frustration, trying to move the conversation along. They not catching a hint. Now you're trying to be like, all right, well, you know, I'm gonna talk to you later. Sorry that's going on or whatever, but I'm gonna, you know, catch you later. They're struggling to let the line go, but eventually they let the line go. So this dynamic is becoming a habit now, and you notice, and you limit conversations. That works for a bit until it doesn't, right? So finally, you get in conversation with them another time, and you got to say something. And I had to tell them, hey, look, I don't mind us checking in with each other from time to time. That's cool. But what I'm not cool with is how you know, the conversation is turning to a frustrating kind of dumping conversation. And you can carry on those conversations, but you can't carry them on with me. I can that's not what I'm trying to check in with, like repeatedly and repeatedly. You know what I mean? So obviously at first this person was not very receptive to me saying, hey, we can check in. I'm cool with that. You could have a bad day. I'm cool with that. But dwelling on this bad day and dwelling, like, it's too much. You don't know how to pivot and or shift out of that. That's too much. You can't do that with me no more. they wasn't really feeling it, but sooner than later they learn to hit my line and keep it cool and short. You know what I'm saying? And then over time, eventually they just barely stop. They barely call it off, which I'm perfectly okay with, because I'm not the type of person where I want to get on the line with you and I'm like holding my breath, like, what? I just hope it's gonna be cool. I hope they straight. I hope it's not gonna be turning into that type of conversation. Nobody has time for that. So, you know, if we go a little bit deeper using this example provided, this particular boundary that I set was one that protects my time and my energy. Respectfully, no matter a person's proximity to you, whether it be a friend, a relative, however you hold them close to you, we're not required to allow people to waste our time with unproductive conversation. Simple and plain. And it took me a while to get there because I cared about them and I cared about how they felt. But again, you're trying to encourage them to shift the conversation. You're trying to limit conversation. You're trying to redirect, and all that ain't working. So now I got to sit here and say what I got to say. You feeling some type of way. You hit my line. You limit. Cool, no problem. Now you don't hit me at all or barely. I'm cool with it. It's fine. My question to you is, do you have people in your life that you need to set boundaries with? Next, we just gonna keep it rolling. Yeah, I'm reading because I got to keep up with the thoughts so I don't go off on a tangent with y'all, because I will. Oh yeah, if you have individuals in your life that you connected to that are becoming exhausting, draining, you dread their phone call, their text, or you postpone or even bail on planned outings, like, what do? This translates to me that you need to strengthen your boundaries, because we should not be in connection with people where we are feeling like, I don't want to be bothered. That's not healthy. That's not good. Relationships, any relationships you have with individuals in your life, in any context, for the most part, should be welcoming. They should be anticipated, and they should be an overall positive experience. So, how does one go about setting boundaries, you ask? Well, first, in my opinion, this itch is deep. In my opinion, you need to be self-aware, because before I wasn't operating in self-awareness in the context of my self when I'm interacting with people that have begun to just feel draining over time. So you need to be self-aware, and you need to know your limits. Everybody has them, and most of them, those limits, like, we need to speak on them faster. I think we take on a lot more than we have to, because we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. We don't want to make people feel a certain way, so we don't honor our own feelings in that transaction. And no, that's not what we're supposed to be doing at all. You need to be quicker to speak on those things. If you let too much slide with these type of connections, things can get slippery real fast. You can start by saying no to, like, small stuff when you noticing that you need to set boundaries with people, right? So, like, regular everyday conversation, like, if they want to hang at your house at this weekend and you're not feeling it, you tell them no. You don't feel like company. Simple. You also need to keep in mind that when you begin setting boundaries, you should expect some pushback. And that's mainly because, if we're being honest, prior, you wasn't doing it for real. you wasn't doing it for real, you weren't doing it at all, or you weren't being consistent. So when you have interactions with people in this way, when it comes to setting boundaries, you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. So if you wavering, you on point 1 minute with the boundary, then you not, or you don't have any at all, or you inconsistent, you can't get mad and that, oh my God, I can't believe he or she keep getting on my line with this, yada, yada, yada. Set the boundary and stick to it, period. You have to understand that not standing on those boundaries is because you're a people pleaser and you more worried about their feelings and you more worried about how they gonna feel and what they think versus your feelings that are equally important. And now you have to put your feelings over other people's feelings. You got to keep the peace with yourself first. You got to limit tension by making your intentions known when it comes to these boundaries. You got to put your comfort first. We don't have to put others above us in this space anymore because we feel like it's not going to work, or it's not going to work the way we want it to. It's going to work the way you want it to because you're going to enforce things in a way that you get the desired outcome. And not in a selfish way, just in a, I'm trying to protect my energy. I'm trying to protect my peace. Simple as that. You also need to make sure that when you set in boundaries, it looks like you're being like clear and direct without wavering. Your no means no. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Stick to it. We all adults, so ain't no need to be going back and forth about what you said. Period. Point blank. Some people might ask and might fear, like, if I begin enforcing my boundaries and, I notice people start like falling back, or, it seems like I'm pushing them away. What if they like limit like their contact with me and they go no contact? And I say good. I say good because to me that translates like as long as they were able to have their way with you, whatever that looked like, that all was well. And now you put some parameters in place regarding your time, regarding the kind of conversations you want to engage in, people's proximity to you, and you start enforcing people can't handle you all willy-nilly. I mean, if they fall back, that's just breath of fresh air. Because now you don't have to, I hate to say it, but now you don't really have to dread that connection, whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone. You don't have to dread the connection because it's draining, because it's exhausting, because it's like it comes with extra that you just like, man, I ain't got the time for that. I ain't got the energy for that. I could be doing something else. It's simple as that. They start falling back, cool. That means there's an opportunity for the kind of connections that are more fulfilling to you to make their way to you. Out with the old, in with the new. Setting boundaries will protect you. Yes, I cracked myself up. Not for real though. Like, they start falling back, good. You want more meaningful connections. Think about what you're missing out on by staying connected to some stuff that you're not even feeling. So at the end of the day, what we've learned, setting boundaries with people is important. Why? Because it keeps us at peace with ourselves. It protects our energy, our input and our output when it comes to the people that's in our proximity. It keeps the negativity on the outskirts. It allows for positive encounters with other people that we truly desire. Because it's not that we don't desire connection with people. It's just about what kind of connection. You know what I'm saying? You could start implementing boundaries with a simple no and enforce the no. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to put other people's feelings over our own, because our feelings are just as important as theirs. And if they're not receptive of that, then bye. I feel like people only get upset when, you start putting boundaries in place, when they benefited from you having little to none at all. You know what I'm saying? And that has been my experience. That has been my experience while learning how to navigate it. And people, they feel some type of way, and they feel like you doing something against them, and they're not receptive to hearing like our connection ain't connecting. And it's not because I'm not doing my part, it's because you're failing to meet me where I am. I can meet you where you are, but me meeting you where you at concerning our connection, no disrespect, it's like a downgrade, because your conversation ain't higher. That's something else. That's a whole nother boat ride, baby. But that's what it is. So, with that being said, I'd love for you guys to share in the comment section below. When was the last time that you enforced a boundary, and was it well received? You can also share with me an instance where you have become self-aware enough to know that you hadn't had any boundaries and you needed to flip the script. Okay? So that's it. That's all I got for y'all. I hope you found some value in this video. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you know somebody who could potentially benefit from this information, be sure to share this video with that somebody. And if you're digging this channel, subscribe. I am gone. I'm going to see y'all in the next upload. Thank you.